Welcome everyone, today we have a very special leveling guide for the Barbarian. In this video, we'll be going through all the skill trees of Barbarian leveling from level 1 to level 50. And on top of that, I have prepared something very special for you guys and also for myself if I plan to play Barbarian. So what you're going to see is we have a special note over here for the Barbarian's leveling and also Codex planner. And I have filtered all the codex that is available to the Barbarians in each of the zones. And you can see each of the zones, what are the codex we should be clearing, what are the codex that is optional, what are the codex we get for free. And as you're going to go through each of the acts of the game, this will be helping you to decide which of the codex to be going for and what do you get for going for those codex. So this way, as you play your Barbarian, as you get more legendaries, you can come back to the codex over here. And let's say if I'm going for a bleeding rend build, right? I can search for rend or I can search for bleed. And all of a sudden, I can see what is available for the codex in each of the act. And this can be really good for me to be clearing for those. So this guide is ideally here to help you to get the most out of the game by leveling up fast with a skill tree over here, which I'll go through with you guys, and also by going in for the legendaries of your choice for different build for the Barbarian. So coming over to my first part of the video. So here what I'll do is I'll go through with you guys step by step each of the leveling process for the Barbarian for me and how I plan to level the Barbarian. Right now I'm really leaning towards playing the Barbarian, so I'm really going to details and also a lot of calculation for the Barbarian for the leveling. So right away, I'm planning to go with Flay at the start of the levels, and I plan to go to Flay that provides us with Thorn. This is a very underrated spell. I know a lot of people want to go Launch Strike or maybe Frenzy, but if you look at free, if you deal damage, you get Thorn. If you attack enemies, you'll be getting 50 Thorn, and this stack up to 4 times. So right at level 3, you can be reflecting 200 damage after 4 attack, and this one's pretty strong, right? So as you keep on to this, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to Rend, and after 3 levels of Rend, we open up to the next section. At level 7, you can go into Rally Cry, and this will give you a lot of fury and also movement. Now at this moment, I plan to get more fury as well with the regeneration of the Rend hitting enemies to get more fury. And after that, what I do is I come over here to level 5 for the Fury, and this unlocks the next section. I can be going for more damage with Warcry and also Leap Strike. And as I get more Leap Strike, what I'm going to do is I'll come back over here and finish off additional Fury gain, which allows us to deal more damage with more Fury with 3-hand weapon. Now around level 17, you can be going with Rapture, and I think 1 point of Rapture is definitely enough. And after Rapture, you want to be going for Death Blow. So notice over here, let's see how many skills we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Now that we have 7 spells, what I'm going to do is I'll be taking away Warcry and I'll perk into some of the swiftness over here so we have enough points. So we can be going for the 2 active spells over here. And those active spells will be very powerful for single target and also for bleeding damage. So around this time, I'll be going in for the Rapture perks over here to provide us with more attack speed, 1 point into the slow to benefit from bonus damage from slow, and also over here 1 point into double damage to the boss, and also more points into providing ourselves with Berserk, which will be really good for additional damage. But if you find yourself short on Fury, you can go for this as well. Now once we're level 24-25 with enough points, we can decide to pick one of the ultimates, and this can also be really good. So over here, I think at the start I'll go for the Core of Engine, and here I'll go for 1 more point into Swiftness and take away Leap. So this way everything figures out perfectly. Now why do I go for Core of the Engine is at the start of the fights, this will give you a lot of damage, and we can go into 3 points into this. Eventually we'll go to Wrath of Berserker. Now at this moment of the game, what I do is I'll come back over here, have a look at some of the spells that provides me with vulnerability, and other perks that provides me with additional movement speed, and other perks that provides me with some utility. So this way, by the time I'm level 35-34, I can get into the Berserker, and then I'll reperk myself into the Berserker, and I'll take away the Core of the Engines. Now once we get the Keystone with the Berserker having more duration and also more damage, around this time maybe we do enough bleeding damage that we want to reperk over here so that we actually deal additional bleeding damage with Flay. So this is the optional, you are doing reflecting damage, and here you're doing more damage with bleeding. Now around this time, if you find yourself short on damage and you want to go for single target, you can perk out Death Blow, which deals a lot of instant damage. And over here, we'll be planning to use a 2-hand weapon, which is a sword. So we can be perking into the 2-hand weapon over here, and we don't need overpower, of course. So here, what I want to show you guys is, as you go for the bleeding build, and here I want to go quickly, come over to the 2-hand sword expertise. You'll be doing additional direct damage as bleeding damage, and also you increase bleeding damage on enemies for 30%. Now by now, we pretty much picked up most of the important spells, so we come back over here for some of the nice passives for additional damage, and over here for additional fury gain and also reduction to the damage with Berserk. So our race around this time will be level 50, and if you do have 1 or 2 Reynos, that's enough as well. And then you can go into additional points that if you wanted to deal additional damage against vulnerability enemies, that is okay as well. And because we will be applying lots of vulnerability, we also deal lots of bonus damage. So this is my pathway of me planning to play the Barbarian from level 1 to level 50. And now let's come over to the second part, because this part will enhance your performance with any of the build for the Barbarian. Now if you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4. Now if you guys do want the notes over here, make sure you check the links below for these particular notes for the leveling of the pathways for the Barbarian for myself. So what I'm showing you guys is, if you come over to the Barbarian builder over here, you can see that a lot of the skills can be obtained at a certain location at a certain act of the game. And what I did over here is I actually spent quite a bit of time actually. I filtered out all the abilities that is available to the Barbarians from each of the zones, but I didn't include all of them. I actually filtered them into 4 categories, and there's even more over here that I didn't include, because we just don't need them pretty much. And over here, I want to provide myself and also you guys with a bit of personal filtering. So here I have categorized the Codex into 4 categories. The red ones are really good, the yellow ones are not bad, the green ones are decent, the blue ones are like so-so. So here are my categories of the coloring code for each of the zones. So we'll briefly go through this one and I'll tell you guys how to use this. Now in case you guys are wondering, yes, we're going to have additional guides of clearing Act 2. We're going to have additional guides of clearing Act 1 very fast. And I will go through probably a speed clear into 2 to 3 hours, clearing everything in Part 1 or Act 1. And here we'll just focus on the characters. In the future, we'll focus on everything related to the game. Now starting with Act 1 with Fracture Peaks, what you're going to see is there are 4 codex of interest for Fracture Peaks. Unfortunately, we don't have any offensive codex over here, so a lot of codex over here are actually utility, resource, and also other defensive codex. So the first one of choice, if you're planning to play Rend build, this is going to be really good. You definitely want to clear Marwood. Marwood is located over here. And here I have highlighted the location of the maps for you guys, because we have Act 1 available. For the other acts, we don't have the maps yet, because the game is not released yet. But once we have the game ready, we'll have this planned out, so you know which pathway to take, which of the dungeons to go for. Now of course guys, if you don't plan to play the Rend Barbarian, this is not a big deal, right? But over here, any of the build for the Barbarian, for a hardcore healing spell, you can be clearing out Hallowed Odyssey. And this one refined you 10% of the fury when you spend to kill monsters. And this one's located over here next to the stronghold Marnock. Now finally, there are 2 optional dungeons to be cleared with Cold Dragon, which provide us additional stun chance with bleeding enemies. And this will be actually really good, because if you come back over here, one of the codex I really want, which is a randomness, is a boost of bleeding damage when you stun enemies. And those 2 codex combined will be amazing for my bleeding build. But unfortunately, I have to find the first one to go for the second one. And this is why this one is not a must-have. If I can find this one at the start of the game, I'll be unstoppable. And as you guys can see, Cold Dragon is located over here. I have the triangle for the optional ones. And finally with Lost Archive, it is located over here for the dungeon. And for most of the classes, you can be clearing this one, because this one is a really good defensive codex that provides you with a shield against elites. Now on the topic of that particular codex that provides you with a barrier, there's also offensive codex that if you do find this one, it's a really good combination. So here you can deal additional 15 to 25% more damage with a barrier active. And this particular codex allows all the class to have a barrier, and this is actually really good. Now so we move over to Act 2 with Soslogan, I cannot pronounce the names. So here you're going to see that there's going to be 2 dungeons I really recommend to clear. And both of those dungeons, one of the dungeons provide you with additional damage with higher resource, while the other dungeon over here with Underroot provides you with basic skills will increase the power of your next core spell. And this can be available for any of the builds. But of course guys, if you're going for any build that uses the Helmet of Ancient, if you're going for a build with Whirlwind, those are optional dungeons over here. Now there's also 3 special codex for Soligan, just say Act 2. There's also 3 special codex that we can unlock by playing through the campaign of Act 2. And you can see those are the 3, which provide us with bonus movement speed to unstoppableness for the mobility, and also gaining more thrown with berserking for the offense. And also, finally, another offensive one, if you stand still, you'll deal 30% more damage. You can be getting those codex by just clearing the campaign. As we move over to Act 3, there's some really good ones now because I really want the bonus to 15% attack speed. Now do keep in mind guys, the attack speed, so over here the bonus to attack speed is over here, and we will be rolling the lowest roll, and the lowest roll will be 50% bonus attack speed, which is also not bad, because barbarians tend to have a shortage of fury, so attacking faster will extend the duration of your berserk and also allows you to get more fury. And similarly, basic skills now grants 20% damage reduction, and this is a really good defensive codex for this dungeon. Now if we do find ourselves with shortage of resource and we're crowd controlling enemies a lot, and we can crowd control enemies. So what I mean by that is, if we come over here, we'll be crowd controlling enemies with a slow, and each time we bleed enemies we have a slow. So this can be a really good way of getting additional resource in terms of fury, and this can also be really good for the other class as well, as we look into other characters like rogue and also mages. Now here, we won't go into the optional ones too much because this will depend which of the build you're building for. But if I'm going for berserking and also bleed, I can go for this legendary codex to go with my bleeding build. So again guys, make sure you use the search function with Alt F or Control F. Once you do Control F, if you're doing a particular build, like if you're doing it for Whirlwind, you can search for Whirlwind, and this will show you which of the codex is important for your build. So this really depends on what legendaries you get and which of the build you're going for. And here you can see a lot of the optional ones, including Whirlwind with summoning of ancients and also leap and also upheaval that summons an ancient. And here we'll be going for weapon swapping build, or maybe a fury game build for fortify, or maybe hitting foes that spread crowd control. But of course, as you can see the highlights, those are optional on the 4th act. So if you're playing Barbarian on the 4th act, you can pretty much skip most of the dungeons, and you don't have anything you really needed unless you're going for those builds. Now finally, as we come over to the 5th act, I cannot pronounce those names. So here I have recommendations to clear 4 of the dungeons. So the first dungeon will provide us up to 55% armor when dealing damage, so it's a quite nice defensive one. The second one can extend the duration of Berserk, and if you do plan to play the Berserker for the Barbarian, which most of us will do, you should be clearing this one for additional experience and also just getting the Codex. Now there's a lot of nice furies gained with the short skills, and if you find yourself short on fury, you can be going for this dungeon for additional fury. And finally, this is a really good mobility one, because each time you critical strike, you gain 8% bonus movement speed for 6 seconds. So this one is highlighted in terms of red for the mobility. So in Act 5, we'll be pretty busy. We'll be going with 4 different dungeons. There are also two flexibility ones. If you want damage reduction, this one's not the highest. You only get 10% maximum damage reduction from the Codex, which in comparison, if you're going for damage reduction over here, is a 20% damage reduction on this particular dungeon. And finally, you will be getting the final Codex for the Thorn build by finishing the campaign. I do believe that's the case, right? Because that's what I saw. So as we clear the campaign, you'll be getting this Codex, which allows you to do 20% of the chance to do Thorn damage AoE to all the enemies around us. Now hopefully you guys found this guide helpful. So what I try to do is, I try to show you guys step-by-step process of how I plan to level, how I plan to respec, and how I plan to change my skills as I level up. And what are the codex I'll be going for, and what are the weapon of choices for my specialization, which will be the sword for the Barbarian. And over here, what you're going to see is, ideally, I do want this particular codex. I highlight over here. If I can get this codex for the bleeding build, I'll be super strong. And having the Codex planner for the Barbarian will be really helpful, because let's say somewhere along the line I decide to go with my Whirlwind build. I always like to say that, because if I get some really good legendaries for the Whirlwind, I can search up all the Codex for the Whirlwind. I can see which of the act and also which of the dungeons I should be clearing those for. So let me know what you guys think about this particular guide for the Barbarian. I'll be making additional guides for each of the classes, of course. And if you have any tips, advices for any of the codex, for any of the dungeons, or any of the build tips for leveling up, let me know as well. I know there's a lot of popular builds, but I do think the bleeding build is one of the best ones. Simply because if you're searching bleeding, you can see there's 12 results. So there's 12 legendary codex you can be finding to boost yourself with powers, defensiveness, and also resource. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.